My name is Renee Chapman, and I'm 32 years old. 3 days after my family reunion celebrating my father's 60th birthday, I opened my banking app and saw my savings account balance $0. The week before, it had been 140, 312, 7. 8 years of careful saving for my dream home, gone in an instant. My hands trembled as I called the bank. The customer service representative confirmed what I couldn't believe. The transfer had been authorized by Richard Chapman, the co-owner of the account, my father. When I confronted him, he laughed. "We needed it more than you, Renee. You have a stable job. You can earn it back." I felt something inside me snap. Not break, but unlock. My voice was steady when I replied, "Then you won't mind what's coming next." Before I tell you what happened when that doorbell rang, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story resonates with you. Where are you watching from? What time is it there? Let me know in the comments. But to understand why I made that choice, I need to start from the beginning. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, in what most people would call a comfortable middle-class family. My father, Richard Chapman, spent 32 years as a branch manager at a small regional bank before retiring 3 years ago. My mother, Linda, was a homemaker who believed her primary job was keeping the family together, no matter the cost. From the time I could understand words, I understood one thing above all else. Family comes first. It was stitched into every conversation, every holiday speech, every guilt-laden phone call. Family takes care of family. Those who have more share with those who have less. Blood is thicker than water. My younger brother Derek was 4 years behind me, and somewhere along the way, my parents decided he was the one worth investing in. "Boys need more support," my mother would say. "Derek has potential. He just needs the right opportunities." I learned early that my role was different. I was the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who got scholarships, worked part-time jobs starting at 16, and never asked for anything. When I was 17, my father added his name to my bank account. "Just in case something happens," he said, his banker's voice calm and reassuring. "This way I can help you manage things if there's ever an emergency." I never questioned it. I never removed him. Why would I? He was my father. He would never. That's what I told myself for 15 years. Looking back, I can see how carefully the foundation was laid. Every family first lecture, every time I was praised for being the easy child, every subtle message that my needs were secondary, it was all preparation. I just didn't know what I was being prepared for. Let me show you the receipts. I kept them all, an occupational hazard of being a data analyst. In 2016, when I was 24 and had just been promoted to my first senior position at DataSphere, a tech company in downtown Denver, my parents called. The roof was leaking. They couldn't afford repairs. Could I help? I transferred $15,000. Between 2017 and 2020, Derek's college tuition kept coming up short. Scholarships fell through. Financial aid wasn't enough. Mom cried on the phone about how Derek would have to drop out. I covered $28,000 in tuition gaps. In 2019, Mom was diagnosed with severe rheumatoid arthritis. Insurance didn't cover everything. Dad said they were drowning in medical bills. I paid $12,000. In 2021, Derek had a business opportunity, a real estate investment that was guaranteed to pay off. He just needed startup capital. He'd pay me back within a year. I loaned him $8,000. I never saw a cent of it. Between 2022 and 2024, there were countless emergencies, car repairs, unexpected bills, holiday expenses they couldn't quite cover, another $24,000 piece by piece, total over $87,000 in 10 years. I tracked every dollar in a spreadsheet, color-coded by category, dated by transaction, not because I expected to be paid back, but because that's just who I am. Data is comfort. Numbers don't lie. You know what I never received? A thank you card, a genuine expression of gratitude, even an acknowledgement that I had sacrificed anything at all. What I got instead was, "You have a good job, Renee. You don't have kids to worry about. Family helps family." What I got was the privilege of being the family ATM, while my brother was called the one with potential. Despite everything I gave away, I had a dream. A quiet, persistent dream that kept me going through every extra shift, every declined vacation, every time I talked myself out of buying something nice for myself. I wanted a house, not a mansion, not a showpiece. Just a modest home in the suburbs of Denver with a backyard where I could plant flowers, a living room big enough to host friends, and walls that belonged to me. I started saving seriously when I was 24, right after my first promotion. I set up automatic transfers. I created a separate high-yield savings account. I lived in a modest apartment, drove a 10-year-old Honda, and bought my coffee at home instead of Starbucks. My goal was $150,000, enough for a 20% down payment on a $750,000 house in a decent neighborhood. After 8 years of discipline, sacrifice, and saying no to myself over and over again, I had $140,312.67. I was so close I could taste it. I had already toured 3 houses. The third one was perfect, a craftsman-style home with a wraparound porch, hardwood floors, and a backyard with space for a garden. The asking price was $735,000. I planned to make an offer the week after Dad's birthday party. Here's the thing that haunts me. 2 years before everything fell apart, I almost removed my father from that account. I was updating my financial information, and the bank representative asked if I wanted to change the co-owner's status. I hesitated. Then I called my dad to tell him, and his voice turned cold. "You don't trust your own father? After everything I've done for you?" I apologized. I left his name on the account. That decision cost me $140,312.67. My father's 60th birthday party was held on a Saturday in early June at my parents' house in Lakewood. 20 guests filled the living room and backyard. Aunts, uncles, cousins, old family friends, neighbors who had known us for decades. The decorations were elegant. The food was catered, paid for, I later learned, with money Derek had borrowed from somewhere. Everyone was dressed nicely, smiling, performing the role of happy functional family for an audience. My father gave a speech about gratitude and legacy. My mother gazed at him adoringly. Derek stood beside them, introduced to everyone as our up-and-coming real estate investor. No one mentioned that his last 3 investments had failed. No one mentioned that I had funded 2 of them. I sat in the corner, nursing a glass of wine, watching the performance. Several relatives asked me the usual questions. "When are you getting married? Still renting? No house yet?" I smiled and deflected. What I noticed, what I couldn't stop noticing, was the way my father and Derek kept huddling together throughout the party. They'd whisper, glance at me, then look away when I caught their eyes. Something was happening, something I wasn't supposed to see. Near the end of the party, my Aunt Helen pulled me aside. She was my father's older sister, 65 years old, the only member of my extended family who had ever acknowledged that I gave too much. She squeezed my hand. "Renee, sweetheart, you've given enough. Be careful." I laughed it off. "Careful of what, Aunt Helen?" She didn't answer. She just looked at me with something I couldn't name, pity, maybe, or forewarning. 3 days later, I understood. It was a Tuesday morning when my world collapsed. I was at my desk at DataSphere reviewing quarterly analytics reports when my phone buzzed with an email notification. The subject line read, "Transaction Confirmation, Mountain West, Federal." I assumed it was spam. Phishing attempts that mimicked bank communications were common enough. I was about to delete it when something made me pause. The account number in the preview matched mine. I opened my banking app. Savings account. Balance, $0. For a full 30 seconds, I couldn't breathe. I stared at the screen, certain there had been some mistake, a glitch, a display error, something. I called Mountain West Federal's customer service line with shaking hands. The representative was polite, professional, utterly unhelpful in the way only financial institutions can be. Ma'am, I can confirm that a transfer of $140,312.67 was processed yesterday from your savings account to an external account. The transaction was authorized by the co-owner of the account, Mr. Richard Chapman. That's my father. Yes, ma'am. As a joint account holder, he has full authorization to— I didn't approve this transfer. I didn't know about it. A pause. Ma'am, our records show the transaction was confirmed via electronic signature. Would you like me to email you the confirmation documentation? Yes, please. I hung up and sat in my cubicle, staring at nothing. 8 years. 8 years of sacrifice, discipline, and dreaming, transferred away in a single click by the man who was supposed to protect me. The email arrived 3 minutes later. I opened the attachment and saw my name on the electronic signature line, except I had never signed anything. My father hadn't just stolen my money, he had forged my identity to do it. I called my father from the parking garage of my office building. I needed privacy for this conversation. I needed to hear his voice when he explained. He answered on the second ring. Renee, I was expecting your call. No guilt, no hesitation, just calm acknowledgement, like we were discussing the weather. Dad, my voice cracked. The money, my savings, all of it. Yes, I transferred it. Why? He sighed, the way he always did when he thought I was being difficult. Derek was in trouble, Renee. His investment property fell through. He owed the bank $120,000. They were going to foreclose. I had to help him. With my money? Family money, he corrected. I put Derek's future first. I used part of it to pay down his debt and the rest as a down payment on a new apartment for him. A fresh start. That was everything I had. 8 years of saving. I was going to buy a house. And you still can, he interrupted. You have a good job. You're smart. You'll earn it back in no time. Derek doesn't have your advantages. He needs support. I heard my mother's voice in the background. Tell her it's for the family. She'll understand. Renee. My father's tone shifted, becoming the authoritative banker voice I'd known all my life. I raised you for 18 years, fed you, clothed you, paid for your education. This is what family does. We share, we sacrifice. I needed that money more than you did. Something cold and clear settled in my chest. You forged my signature, Dad, on the electronic confirmation. Silence. I didn't approve that transfer. The bank has documentation with my name on it, documentation I never signed. More silence. Then, you're overreacting. I wasn't. That night, I called Marcus Webb. Marcus and I had been friends since college. We'd met in an economics class freshman year and stayed in touch through graduations, career changes, and life's chaos. He was now a lawyer specializing in financial fraud cases, working at a mid-sized firm in downtown Denver. Renee? His voice was warm when he answered. It's been months. What's going on? I told him everything. The account, the transfer, the forged signature, the phone call with my father. When I finished, there was a long pause. Renee, this is serious, like potentially felony-level serious. What do you mean? Your father being a co-owner complicates things, but it doesn't give him the right to forge your signature on authorization documents. If he created a false electronic signature to make the transfer appear legitimate, that's forgery. Combined with the unauthorized nature of the transfer, we're looking at potential charges of bank fraud and identity theft. My stomach dropped. I don't want to send my father to prison. I understand. But you need to know your options. Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. Here's what matters right now. Mountain West Federal has a 72-hour window for disputing suspicious transactions. After that, the transfer gets classified as confirmed in their system, and recovering the funds becomes much harder. I checked the time on my phone. The transfer had been processed Tuesday morning. It was now Tuesday night. I have less than 48 hours. Yes, and Renee, he paused, you mentioned an email with your electronic signature. Do you still have it? Yes. Forward it to me. And if you know anyone who does digital forensics, have them look at the metadata. If that signature was created from a different device than yours, that's evidence of forgery. I knew someone. Carla Diaz was a senior digital forensics specialist at Datasphere. We'd worked together on data integrity projects for 2 years, and I trusted her expertise completely. Wednesday morning, I caught her before our department meeting. Carla, I need a favor, a personal one. She looked at my face. I hadn't slept, and I knew it showed, and immediately nodded. What do you need? I forwarded her the bank's confirmation email with the electronic signature. Can you analyze the metadata? Tell me where this signature originated? It took her less than an hour. Renee, Carla's voice was careful when she called me into her office. This signature wasn't generated from any of your devices. The metadata shows it was created on a machine with a completely different IP address, residential, Denver area, but definitely not your home or phone. Can you tell whose machine? She pulled up her analysis on the screen. The IP traces back to a residential address in Lakewood. My parents' house. There's more, Carla continued. The timestamp on the signature is 3:47 a.m. Monday morning. Were you awake at 3:47 a.m. on Monday? No. Then someone accessed your banking portal and created the signature while you were asleep. Renee. She turned to face me directly. This is identity theft. Textbook identity theft. Whoever did this forged your digital identity to authorize a transaction you never approved. I sat in her office, holding the printed forensic report, feeling the weight of it in my hands. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was criminal. I'm going to need this documented officially, I said. Can you write up a formal report? Carla nodded. I'll have it to you by end of day. And Renee? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. I had 40 hours left. That Wednesday night, I sat alone in my apartment, surrounded by evidence of my own exploitation. On my laptop screen, the spreadsheet documenting $87,000 I'd given my family over 10 years. On my coffee table, Carla's forensic report proving the signature forgery. On my phone, 17 missed calls from my mother. I called her back. Renee, thank God. Mom's voice was breathless, pleading. Your father told me you're upset. Sweetheart, you need to understand. Mom, I need Dad to return the money within 24 hours. Silence. All of it. 140, 312, 567. Back in my account by tomorrow night. If not, I'm filing a police report for identity theft and bank fraud. Renee! My mother's voice cracked into a sob. You can't do that to your own father. We raised you. We sacrificed everything for you. How can you be so ungrateful? He forged my signature, Mom. He stole my identity. This isn't a family disagreement. This is a crime. It's not stealing if it's family. That money, you were going to waste it on a house when your brother needed it more. Your father made a judgment call. He made a choice. Now I'm making mine. Renee, please. She was crying now, the manipulative tears I'd fallen for 100 times before. Think about what you're doing. You'll destroy this family. Your father could go to jail. Is that what you want? To ruin us? I thought about Aunt Helen's warning. I thought about 8 years of sacrifice. I thought about every time I'd been told my needs didn't matter. I'm not destroying anything, Mom. I'm protecting myself. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing me. I hung up. 24 hours passed. No money was returned. I opened my laptop and began typing a police report. Thursday morning, 9:15 a.m. The Denver Police Department's Financial Crimes Unit. I sat across from Detective Sarah Mitchell, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. On the desk between us, Carla's forensic report, my bank statements, the spreadsheet of 10 years of family support, and a printout of the fraudulent confirmation email. Detective Mitchell reviewed each document carefully, asking occasional questions. When she finished, she looked up at me. Ms. Chapman, based on what you've presented, this appears to meet the criteria for identity theft under Colorado Revised Statute 18-5902, and potentially bank fraud under federal statute 18 U.S.C. Circa 1344. The forged electronic signature is particularly damning. What happens now? We open an investigation. I'll coordinate with Mountain West Federal's fraud department. They'll want to see this forensic analysis. If their internal investigation confirms what you've shown me, we'll have grounds to pursue charges. She handed me a form. This is your official identity theft report. The case number is 2024 DEN 78432. You'll need this for the bank's dispute process. I signed where indicated, my hand steady. Ms. Chapman. Detective Mitchell's voice softened slightly. I see a lot of financial crimes. Family cases are always the hardest. Are you prepared for what this might mean? My father made his choice. Now he'll face the consequences. She nodded. We'll be in touch. I was almost out the door when she called after me. One more thing. When we ran your name through the system, something flagged. There's a personal loan for $25,000 opened 6 months ago in your name. Were you aware of that? I froze. No, I never applied for any loan. Detective Mitchell made a note. Then we may be looking at multiple counts of identity theft. The family assault began within hours of filing the report. My phone exploded with messages, voicemails from my mother, each more hysterical than the last. How could you do this to us? Texts from Derek. You're dead to me. I hope you know that. Calls from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, suddenly very interested in telling me what a terrible daughter I was. Friday morning my father called. His voice was ice. I've heard what you did, Renee. Going to the police. About your own father. You stole my money and forged my identity. What did you expect? I expected you to be loyal. I expected you to remember who raised you, who fed you, who gave you everything. You gave me guilt and expectations, Dad. I earned everything else myself. You think the police will believe you over me? I was a bank manager for 32 years. I have connections, friends, reputation. I'm just the daughter with forensic proof that you committed identity theft from your own IP address at 3:47 a.m. Silence. I'm giving you one last chance, he finally said. Drop this. Tell the police you made a mistake. We can still fix this as a family. The only thing that needed fixing was my boundaries. Consider them fixed. I hung up. An hour later, my cousin Rachel texted me. Heard about what you did to Uncle Richard. That's cold, Renee. He's family. Then Aunt Patricia. Your mother is devastated. I hope you're happy. Then Uncle Thomas from California. What's this I hear about police? Call me. Only one message stood out, from Aunt Helen. I support you. Stay strong. I saved that one. On Saturday, exactly 1 week after my father's birthday party, I saw the Facebook post. Derek had created an event page. The header image showed a gleaming apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of downtown Denver. The caption read, Housewarming Party. Come celebrate my new place in Highlands. Saturday, June 15th, 6 p.m. Can't wait to show you all what hard work and smart investing can achieve. Hard work. Smart investing. My stomach churned as I scrolled through the guest list. 45 people had RSVP'd. Derek's co-workers, college friends, family members, neighbors. My parents were listed as co-hosts. The apartment address was visible, a trendy complex in the Highlands neighborhood, one of Denver's most desirable areas. I looked up the listing. 2 bedrooms, modern finishes, open floor plan, estimated value, $400,000. The down payment alone would have been at least $80,000. I did the math. My father had transferred $140,312.67 from my account. He said he used part of it to pay down Derek's debt and the rest as a down payment on this apartment. My brother was hosting a party to celebrate his new home. A home purchased with my stolen money, while I sat in my rented apartment wondering if I'd ever achieve my own dream. The irony was suffocating. I noticed I hadn't been invited. Of course I hadn't. But someone else had noticed. Aunt Helen commented on the post. Lovely apartment, Derek. Where did you find the money for such a nice down payment? Derek's reply was carefully vague. Family helped out. You know how it is. Yes, I knew exactly how it was. The party was in 8 days. I made a phone call. 5 days after I filed the police report, I received a call from Mountain West Federal's Fraud Investigation Department. Ms. Chapman, this is Daniel Torres from our fraud resolution team. I'm calling regarding case number FRD 2024-067891. I sat up straight at my desk, heart pounding. Yes? We've completed our preliminary investigation into the disputed transaction on your account. I want to inform you of our findings. Go ahead. Our internal analysis, combined with the forensic report provided by the Denver Police Department, confirms that the electronic signature authorizing the June 4th transfer was not generated from any device registered to your banking profile. The IP address and device fingerprint match a residential location in Lakewood, Colorado, which our records show is the address of the secondary account holder, Richard Chapman. I exhaled. So you're confirming it was fraudulent? We're confirming that the transaction authorization was created without your knowledge or consent using forged credentials. Under our terms of service and federal banking regulations, this constitutes an unauthorized transaction. What happens now? What? We've frozen the relevant accounts pending criminal investigation. We've also forwarded our findings to the Denver Police Department. Ms. Chapman, his tone shifted, becoming more personal. I've been in fraud investigation for 12 years. Family cases are rare, but they're always the most painful. I'm sorry you're going through this. Thank you. What about my money? Once the criminal investigation reaches a certain threshold, which given the evidence should be soon, we'll begin the process of reversing the fraudulent transaction. You should expect full restitution of $140, $312.67 within 30 to 60 days. I thanked him and hung up, then immediately called Detective Mitchell. The bank confirmed the fraud. What's next? Next, she said, we execute an arrest warrant. Do you have a preference on timing? I did. I thought about Detective Mitchell's question for a long time. The practical choice was clear. Have my father arrested quietly, at home, with minimal witnesses. It would be less dramatic, less painful, less public. The family could manage the narrative. The neighbors might never know. But I kept thinking about that Facebook post. Can't wait to show you all what hard work and smart investing can achieve. I thought about 45 people gathering to celebrate my brother's success. Success built on my stolen savings, my forged identity, my shattered dreams. I thought about my parents standing beside him, proud, smiling, performing happy family while I sat alone in my apartment. They wanted an audience for the lie. Maybe they deserved an audience for the truth. Wednesday night, Aunt Helen called. Renee, honey, I heard about the investigation. How are you holding up? I'm okay, Aunt Helen. I'm just deciding something. The housewarming party is Saturday. Your Uncle Thomas is flying in from California. The whole extended family will be there. Something clicked into place. Everyone will be there to see Derek's big moment. Yes, Richard's been calling everyone, making sure they come. He wants a big show of support. She paused. He's telling everyone you've had a mental breakdown and are making false accusations. He's trying to control the narrative before you can speak. My jaw tightened. Is that so? I thought you should know. Whatever you decide to do, I support you. I thanked her and hung up. Then I called Detective Mitchell. Detective, you asked about timing for the arrest warrant. I have a suggestion. I'm listening. Saturday, June 15th, 7 o'clock p.m., 2847 Highland Boulevard, apartment 4C. There will be approximately 45 witnesses. A pause. That's unconventional. So is stealing from your daughter. Fair point. I'll make it happen. Okay, I need to pause here for a second. If you were in my position, what would you do? Option A. Have the police arrest my father quietly at home, avoid the drama, keep things private. Or option B. Let everything unfold at the housewarming party, in front of 45 witnesses celebrating my brother's success. Drop your answer in the comments, A or B, and if you're still with me, hit that like button so I know you're here. Now, let me tell you what happened next. Saturday, June 15th, 2024. 6:12 p.m. Derek's apartment in the Highlands was everything the Facebook photos promised. Soaring ceilings, designer furniture, a wall of windows showcasing the Denver skyline, catering trays covered the kitchen island. A playlist of upbeat music pulsed through wireless speakers. Congratulations. Balloons floated in clusters near the entrance. 45 guests filled the space, mingling with champagne glasses in hand. Derek's coworkers admired the view. Extended family members exclaimed over the finishes. Friends congratulated him on finally making it. My father stood in the center of the living room holding court. "I've always believed in investing in family," he announced to a cluster of relatives. "When Derek came to me with this opportunity, I knew it was the right move. That's what parents do. We set our children up for success." Murmurs of approval rippled through the group. My mother circulated with a tray of appetizers, beaming. "Isn't this place wonderful? Derek has worked so hard. We're so proud." Derek himself was near the window, accepting praise from two former college roommates. "Yeah, man, it took some strategic planning, but I finally got my feet under me. Real estate is all about timing, you know." Uncle Thomas, newly arrived from California, clapped Derek on the shoulder. "Your dad says you're quite the investor. Impressive, son. Real impressive." Nobody mentioned me. Nobody wondered where I was. Nobody questioned where an unemployed investor with a failed track record suddenly found the resources for a $400,000 apartment in one of Denver's most expensive neighborhoods. Or almost nobody. I spotted Aunt Helen near the kitchen, watching my father's performance with an expression I recognized, the same skepticism she'd shown at the birthday party 3 weeks ago. She checked her watch. 6:47 p.m., 13 minutes. At 6:52 p.m., Aunt Helen made her move. She intercepted Derek as he headed back from the bathroom, cornering him near the hallway where the acoustics carried every word to at least a dozen nearby guests. "Derek, sweetheart." Her voice was pleasant but carried. "This apartment is stunning. What did it cost, if you don't mind me asking?" Derek's smile flickered. "Oh, around 400,000. It was a great deal, actually." "And where did you find the down payment? Last I heard, you were having some trouble with your other properties." Several heads turned. The music suddenly seemed too loud for the silence that was forming. "Dad helped out," Derek said carefully. "You know, family support." "Mm-hmm," Aunt Helen nodded slowly. "And did Renee contribute anything?" Derek's face went pale. "What? No, Renee has nothing to do with this." "Really? Because I spoke to her this week and she mentioned some interesting things about a bank transfer. $140,000, I believe?" The cluster of relatives nearest to them had stopped talking entirely. My mother's smile was frozen in place. My father was pushing through the crowd, his face thunderous. "Helen!" His voice was sharp. "This isn't the time or place." "Isn't it?" Aunt Helen turned to face her brother. "Richard, where did the money for this apartment come from? The truth, please. Your sister is asking." "It's family business. None of your—" "Did you take money from Renee's savings account without her permission?" The room had gone completely silent. 45 pairs of eyes fixed on my father. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. The doorbell rang. My father's face went white. "That," Aunt Helen said quietly, "would be the police." Derek opened the door. 2 uniformed officers stood in the hallway, their postures professional, their expressions grave. Behind them, in plainclothes, was Detective Mitchell. "We're looking for Richard Chapman." The room erupted in confused murmurs. My mother rushed toward the door. "What is this? This is a private party." "Ma'am, please step aside." Detective Mitchell held up her badge. "Mr. Richard Chapman, you're under arrest for bank fraud, identity theft, and forgery under Colorado and federal statutes. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." This is ridiculous. My father's voice cracked. This is my family. My daughter is mentally unstable. She's making up stories. Sir, we have forensic evidence confirming that an electronic signature was forged from your home computer at 3:47 a.m. on June 3rd, authorizing a transfer of $140,312 from your daughter's account. We also have evidence of a $25,000 loan opened fraudulently in her name 6 months ago. The Miranda rights continued as one officer guided my father's hands behind his back. The click of handcuffs was impossibly loud in the silent room. My mother collapsed against the wall, sobbing, "Richard! Richard!" Derek stood frozen, his mouth hanging open, champagne glass still clutched in his hand. Uncle Thomas stepped back from him like he'd discovered something contagious. "What the hell is going on here?" The guests parted as the officers led my father toward the door. His head was bowed, his banker's composure finally completely shattered. As he passed Aunt Helen, she spoke quietly. "You should have returned the money, Richard. She gave you a chance." The door closed behind them. 45 witnesses stood in absolute silence. Then someone whispered, "He stole from his own daughter?" Detective Mitchell remained after the uniformed officers escorted my father out. She addressed the stunned room with professional calm. "For those who are wondering, Mr. Chapman is accused of stealing $140,312.67 from his daughter's savings account and forging her digital identity to authorize the transfer. Additionally, a fraudulent loan of $25,000 was opened in her name without her knowledge or consent. The down payment for this apartment," she gestured around the room, "came from those stolen funds." Uncle Thomas turned to Derek, his face flushed with anger. "Is this true? This apartment was bought with Renee's money?" I didn't," Derek stammered. "Dad said she agreed. He said she wanted to help." "She filed a police report, Derek." Aunt Helen's voice was sharp. "Does that sound like someone who agreed?" A woman I recognized as one of Derek's co-workers set down her champagne glass. "Wait, so this whole party, we're celebrating an apartment bought with stolen money?" "From his own sister's savings," another guest added, disgust evident in her voice. One by one, people began moving toward the door. A friend of Derek's shook his head as he passed. "Dude, I thought I knew you. This is seriously messed up." Within 15 minutes, 20 guests had left. Those who remained clustered in small groups, whispering, casting looks at Derek and my mother, like they were viewing a car accident. My mother sat on Derek's expensive new couch, mascara streaking down her face. "This can't be happening. This isn't happening." Uncle Thomas approached her, his voice cold. "Linda, did you know about this?" She didn't answer. That was answer enough. "I flew in from California for this." He grabbed his coat. "I'm done with Richard, and I'm done pretending this family isn't rotten." I arrived at 7:45 p.m., after the police had left. The apartment door was still open. No one had thought to close it. I walked through into a scene of devastation. Half-empty champagne glasses abandoned on tables, catering trays untouched, congratulations balloons drifting aimlessly. Perhaps 15 people remained. They turned to stare as I entered. My mother launched herself off the couch. You did this! You destroyed everything!" I held up one hand, and something in my expression stopped her mid-stride. "I didn't destroy anything, Mom. I reported a crime. There's a difference." I set a folder on the kitchen island, the same folder I'd been carrying for 2 weeks. Inside, the spreadsheet documenting $87,000 in support over 10 years, Carla's forensic report, a copy of the police report, bank statements showing the fraudulent transfer. "Uncle Thomas," I turned to face him. "I know you traveled from California for this. I'm sorry your trip was ruined, but I thought you deserved to know the truth." He took the folder, scanning the documents inside. His face shifted from shock to disgust to something like grief. "Renee," his voice was hoarse. "I had no idea. None of us did." "That's what they counted on." Derek finally found his voice. "Renee, you have to understand. Dad said you were okay with it. He said you wanted to help me. I never agreed to anything, Derek. I was asleep when Dad forged my signature at 3:47 in the morning. I found out about the transfer 3 days later, when my account showed $0. I met his eyes. You knew where that money came from. You knew, and you threw a party anyway. He had nothing to say to that. None of them did. The remaining guests dispersed over the next hour. Derek's coworker Marcus, a different Marcus than my lawyer friend, paused at the door. Derek, I've known you for 3 years. I vouched for you at work. I told people you were a good guy. He shook his head. Don't call me anymore. Two of Derek's college friends left without saying goodbye. One muttered, "Unbelievable," as he passed. A neighbor from my parents' street, Mrs. Patterson, approached my mother on her way out. Linda, I've known your family for 20 years. I never would have believed. She trailed off, unable to finish, and hurried away. By 9 p.m., only family remained. My mother, Derek, Aunt Helen, Uncle Thomas, and me. The apartment that had gleamed with promise 2 hours ago now felt cold and hollow. The champagne had gone flat. The catering was congealing. The congratulations balloons seemed to mock the devastation below them. Derek slumped in a chair by the window, staring at nothing. His success story had evaporated in less than 3 hours. My mother sat rigid on the couch, tear-streaked and silent, stripped of the supportive audience she'd relied on to maintain her denial. Uncle Thomas approached Aunt Helen. You knew about this, didn't you? Before tonight? I suspected. Aunt Helen's voice was tired. I tried to warn Renee years ago. No one wanted to listen. I listened, I said. Eventually. Uncle Thomas turned to me. His eyes were red. Renee, I owe you an apology. When your father called to invite me to this party, he told me you'd been making false accusations. He said you were having mental health issues. I believed him. Most people did. He's very convincing. Not anymore. Uncle Thomas's jaw tightened. He's dead to me. I stood in the center of Derek's apartment, surrounded by the wreckage of his celebration, and spoke the words I should have said years ago. Derek. My brother looked up, hollow-eyed. I want you to understand something. I didn't do this to hurt you. Then why? Because you hurt me. You and Dad. You took my life savings, money I spent 8 years earning, and you used it to buy this apartment. Then you threw a party to celebrate. You posted on Facebook about hard work and smart investing. My voice cracked, but I pushed through. That wasn't hard work. That was theft. Dad said you would understand. Dad lied. To you, to me, to everyone. And you chose to believe him because it was convenient. I turned to my mother, who hadn't moved from the couch. Mom, I'm not going to apologize for what happened tonight. Dad broke the law. He forged my identity. He stole my future. Those are facts, not accusations. He's your father. He's a criminal who happens to be my father. Those two things can both be true. I picked up my folder from the counter. I'm leaving now. I won't be contacting any of you for the foreseeable future. When Dad's case goes to court, I'll do what the prosecutors ask. Beyond that, I have nothing more to say. Derek stood. Renee, wait. We're family. Family doesn't steal from each other, Derek. Family doesn't forge signatures at 3 a.m. Family doesn't throw parties with stolen money. I met his eyes. When you're ready to acknowledge what you did, really acknowledge it, not just make excuses, you can reach out. Until then, this is goodbye. I walked out without looking back. Aunt Helen followed me. Hey, quick pause here. If you've ever had to set a boundary with family, you know how hard that walk to the door feels. Like your legs are made of lead. Like every step is a betrayal of everything you were taught. If this resonates with you, drop a comment telling me about it. I read every single one. And if you want to hear what happened next, with the legal case, with my family, with my dream house, keep watching. We're almost at the end. 3 weeks after the housewarming party, my father's case went before the district attorney. Marcus kept me informed throughout the process. They're charging him with 3 counts: Bank fraud under 18 U.S.C. Sephora 1344, identity theft under 18 U.S.C. Sartor 1N28, and forgery under Colorado state law. The federal charges alone could mean up to 30 years. My stomach dropped. 30 years? That's the maximum. Given his age, clean record, and the family context, the DA is offering a plea deal. 18 months probation, 200 hours of community service, and full restitution of the stolen funds. And the $25,000 loan? Separate investigation, but the bank has already flagged it as fraudulent. It'll be removed from your credit report within 60 days. In late July, my father accepted the plea deal. I wasn't present for the hearing. I'd been advised that my attendance might complicate matters, but Marcus sent me a text afterward. It's done. He pled guilty. Restitution order signed. 1 week later, 140,312.67 appeared in my new bank account. The account was in my name only. No co-owners, no exceptions. The money felt different now. Heavier. I'd earned it twice. Once through years of work, and again through the hardest fight of my life. But the numbers were real. The balance was restored. The fraud had been documented, prosecuted, and resolved through proper legal channels. I called Mountain West Federal to close my old account permanently. "Are you sure, Ms. Chapman?" the representative asked. "This account has been open since you were 17. "I'm sure. That account was never really mine." "I understand. Is there anything else we can help you with today?" I thought about it. "Yes, I'd like information about your mortgage pre-approval process." The social consequences fell like dominoes. Derek was forced to sell the Highlands apartment within 2 months. The market had softened, buyers were scarce, and the circumstances of his investment success had become local gossip. He sold at a loss of $35,000, money he didn't have, debt he couldn't escape. His real estate career, such as it was, collapsed entirely. Word spread among Denver's small investor community. "That's the guy who used his sister's stolen savings." Doors closed. Phone calls went unreturned. My mother retreated into isolation. Her church friends, her book club, her neighborhood coffee group, all of them had seen the news, heard the whispers, put together the pieces. She stopped attending Sunday services, stopped hosting, stopped answering the door. Uncle Thomas kept his word. He cut off all contact with my father, unfriending him on every platform, declining every call. When my mother tried to reach out, he sent a single text. "You knew, Linda. You knew and you did nothing. I have nothing to say to you." The extended family fractured along predictable lines. 12 relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, formally distanced themselves from my parents. A few sent me private messages of support, others simply went silent. Aunt Helen told me about a confrontation at a family funeral 2 months later. "Your father tried to attend. Your Uncle Thomas blocked him at the door, told him he wasn't welcome." It was the first time I've ever seen Richard cry. I felt nothing when she told me this. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just a hollow acknowledgement that actions have consequences, and some consequences can't be walked back. "Does it feel like enough?" Aunt Helen asked. "It feels like reality," I said. "That's all I ever wanted." In the weeks after the arrest, something unexpected happened. I started receiving messages from strangers. Carla had shared my story, anonymized, of course, in an online support group for identity theft victims. The response was overwhelming. This happened to me too. My mother opened 6 credit cards in my name. Reading your story gave me the courage to report it. I've been paying off my brother's loans for 12 years. I thought I was the only one stupid enough to fall for it. Thank you for showing me I'm not alone. My dad told me family doesn't keep score when he asked me to co-sign his mortgage. Now I'm in $80,000 of debt and he won't return my calls. How did you find the strength to fight back? I responded to every message. Some people needed resources, lawyer referrals, fraud reporting procedures, credit repair steps. Others just needed to know that someone understood. At Datasphere, Word had spread among my colleagues. People I'd barely spoken to stopped by my desk with words of encouragement. My manager, Janet, called me into her office one afternoon. "Renee, I heard about what happened with your family. I want you to know, what you did took incredible courage. Most people would have just let it go, kept the peace. You didn't." "I couldn't," I said. "Not this time." "Well, I admire you for it. And if you ever need time off, for court appearances, for therapy, for anything, it's yours. No questions asked." Aunt Helen became my weekly dinner companion. Every Sunday, she'd come over with a bottle of wine and a listening ear. "You know," she told me once, "your grandmother did something similar to me 40 years ago. I never had the courage to fight back. I'm proud of you for having what I didn't." In September, 2 months after my father's sentencing, a handwritten letter arrived at my apartment. The return address was my parents' house. The handwriting was my mother's. I opened it at my kitchen table, already bracing for what I'd find. "Dear Renee, your father and I have had time to think about everything that happened. I want you to know that I'm sorry if you felt hurt by our actions. Families should support each other. And I understand now that things didn't go the way you expected. Your father only wanted to help Derek. He's always been a good provider, and his instincts have always been to put family first. Sometimes that means making hard choices that not everyone understands. I'm asking you, as your mother, to consider forgiveness. Holding on to anger only hurts you. The Bible says we must forgive 70 times 7, and I believe that applies to family most of all. Please come home. We can work through this together. We're still your parents and we still love you. Mom." I read the letter 3 times. I noticed what was missing. Any acknowledgement that what they did was wrong. Any acceptance of responsibility. Any recognition that helping Derek had meant stealing my life savings and forging my identity. "I'm sorry if you felt hurt" isn't an apology. It's a deflection. I wrote back the next day. "Mom, thank you for reaching out. However, I can't return to a relationship where my boundaries are not respected and my harm is not acknowledged. Dad didn't just make hard choices, he committed crimes he pled guilty to in a court of law. When you're ready to acknowledge that clearly, without deflection, I'm willing to talk. Until then, please respect my need for space. Renee." I didn't hear back. In October, Derek reached out. His email was shorter than my mother's letter, and at first glance, seemed more genuine. "Renee, I know I screwed up. I want to make things right. Can we meet for coffee? Please. Just hear me out." Against my better judgment, I agreed. I chose a busy coffee shop downtown, public, neutral, with plenty of witnesses in case things went sideways. Derek looked diminished when he arrived. The confident real estate investor persona was gone, replaced by something smaller, grayer. He'd lost weight. His clothes looked slept in. "Thanks for coming." He sat across from me, hands wrapped around a cup he wasn't drinking. "I know I don't deserve it." "You're right. You don't. I want to apologize. Really apologize. What Dad did, what we did, was wrong. I should have questioned where that money came from. I should have—" "You did question it, Derek. And then you decided the answer didn't matter because you were getting what you wanted." He flinched. "That's fair." "I didn't come here for fairness. I came to see what you actually wanted." A long pause, then quietly. "Dad's probation is making things hard for him. He can't travel for work, can't— Derek. And if you could maybe talk to the DA, ask them to reduce—" "Stop." He stopped. "You didn't come here to apologize. You came here to ask me to help Dad. Again, after everything." "Renee, he's our father." I stood up. "He stopped being my father when he forged my signature at 3:47 in the morning." I picked up my bag. "Goodbye, Derek. Don't contact me again unless you're ready to have an actual conversation. One that isn't about what you need from me." I left my coffee untouched on the table. November brought the first real cold of the season, and my first Thanksgiving without my family. Aunt Helen invited me to her house, a cozy craftsman in the Berkeley neighborhood. When I arrived, the table was set for two, simple, elegant, with candles flickering in the fading afternoon light. "I hope you like turkey," she said, pulling me into a hug. "I made too much, as always." Over dinner, we talked about everything except my parents, her garden, my work, the book club she'd recently joined. Normal things, peaceful things. It wasn't until dessert that she brought it up. "You know, Renee, I was your age when something similar happened to me." I looked up from my pie. "You mentioned that once. With your mother?" Aunt Helen nodded slowly. "My mother, your grandmother, opened a credit card in my name when I was 23, maxed it out. I didn't find out until I tried to buy my first car and was denied for bad credit." "What did you do?" "Nothing." Her voice was heavy with old regret. "I was too scared. Too trained to keep the peace. I spent 8 years paying off a debt that was never mine, and I never said a word about it." "That's not your fault?" "No, but it is my lesson." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "What you did, Renee, standing up, filing that report, demanding accountability, that's what I should have done 40 years ago. I didn't have the courage. You do." I felt tears threatening. "Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing." "You did." Her voice was firm. "Protecting yourself isn't betrayal, it's survival. And family, real family, is the people who love you enough to want you to survive." I squeezed her hand back. "Thanks for being real family, Aunt Helen." 6 months after my father's arrest, I signed the papers for my new house. It wasn't the craftsman I'd originally dreamed of, that one had sold months earlier while I was fighting for my stolen savings. But the house I found was better. A charming split level in Littleton with a wraparound porch, a renovated kitchen, and a backyard big enough for the garden I'd always wanted. Purchase price? $735,000. Down payment? $147,000. My recovered savings, plus 6 months of additional contributions. The closing was held on a Thursday afternoon in December. I sat at a conference table surrounded by lawyers, real estate agents, and mortgage officers, signing document after document, watching the stack of papers grow. When it was done, when the final signature was placed and the keys were handed over, I sat in my car outside the title company and cried. Not from sadness, from release. 8 years of saving. A devastating betrayal. A legal battle. A family shattered. And at the end of it all, a house. My house. In my name only. I drove to the property that evening. The moving truck wouldn't come until the weekend, so the house was empty, echoing with possibility instead of furniture. I walked through each room, running my fingers along the walls, memorizing the spaces that were finally, entirely mine. The backyard was brown with winter dormancy, but I could already see where the flower beds would go. Where I'd plant tomatoes in the spring, where I'd set up a small table for morning coffee. The doorbell rang. Aunt Helen stood on the porch, holding a pot of red roses. "Housewarming gift," she said, her eyes bright with tears. "For your garden." I pulled her into a hug so tight neither of us could breathe. "Welcome home, sweetheart," she whispered. I was home. I'm writing this from the porch of my new house, 6 months after moving in. The garden is thriving. Aunt Helen's roses bloomed in May, deep red against the green of the lawn. The tomatoes I planted are producing more than I can eat, so I've started bringing extras to my neighbors. I've made peace with the shape of my family now. It's smaller than it used to be, but it's honest. My father completed his community service. He's still on probation. From what Aunt Helen tells me, he's aged dramatically since the arrest. My mother has stopped reaching out. Derek sent one more email, which I deleted without reading. I'm not angry at them anymore. Anger requires energy, and I've chosen to spend my energy on things that matter. My work, my home, my relationships with people who value me, but I'm also not waiting for them to change. I used to believe that loving family meant sacrificing everything: my savings, my dreams, my boundaries. I thought saying no was the same as saying, I don't love you. I was wrong. Real love doesn't require self-destruction. Real family doesn't exploit your loyalty. And setting boundaries isn't betrayal. It's the foundation of every healthy relationship. I don't know if my parents will ever understand that. I don't know if Derek will ever grow into the kind of person who can take responsibility for his choices. But I know this: I'm not responsible for their understanding. I'm only responsible for my own integrity, my own healing, my own life. And for the first time in 32 years, that life belongs entirely to me. I close my journal and look out at the sunset turning my garden gold. I chose myself. Finally. It was the hardest thing I ever did. It was worth it. Hey, before we wrap up, I want to step back and share some perspective on what we just witnessed. From a psychological standpoint, Renee's story is a textbook example of financial enmeshment, a dynamic where family members treat one person's resources as communal property, regardless of consent. The phrases "family helps family" and "you have a stable job" weren't expressions of love. They were tools of control. Here's what Renee taught us: setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary. You're not obligated to destroy your future to maintain someone else's comfort. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. And sometimes, choosing yourself means letting go of people who only valued what you could give them. If you're watching this and something resonated, if you've been the family ATM, the reliable one, the one who always gives, please know you deserve better. Your loyalty is precious. Don't spend it on people who treat it as obligation. Thank you for staying until the end of Renee's story. If this video made you feel seen or gave you permission to set a boundary you've been avoiding, drop a comment and tell me about it. I read every single one. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more stories like this. And if you're hungry for more, check out the video linked in the description. I think you'll love it. Until next time, protect your peace.